Welcome to Palcast, your Create International podcast. God Network News, where we give you a new perspective
on events happening in our world today.
This is GNN.
This is God Network News, episode 171. Welcome, GNN fans, to another episode of God Network News, the podcast that tells you what God's doing around the world. Not what CNN tells you, but what GNN tells you is going on in the world. If you're tired of listening to all of that crisis network news and you want to hear what God's doing, well, give us a listen. Greetings to our faithful God Network News listeners. We are excited to bring you more great stories of movements that are happening amongst unreached people groups. This particular group of stories is coming from our brother John, who works in a very unreached area of Africa, and he is working in an island off the coast, and it is very, very unreached. In fact, he mentions in one of these stories that electricity has just recently come to his island, and that God is actually using it to bring people to his house, and then he shares the gospel message. Get ready for some fantastic stories of God's faithfulness, of God working even in this difficult time of COVID.
So this young man actually, he came to the Lord and is having amazing, impact on the island.
Wow.
And so the way this guy came to the Lord, it was like this particular day when God put in my heart to go to this specific school and share the gospel. And then, but the way I was sharing, it wasn't like sharing the gospel. So I wanted to share, because we work in healthcare a lot and we use that to reach the people. So we just offered, if I said, I want to come to this school to share the gospel, the school wouldn't open up.
Oh.
But then I said, we want to come to the school. I actually joined it, like brought few other people with me. And I said, we want to share something with you guys, with your students. We were speaking to the school principal. And so the school principal said, what do you want to share? And we said we wanted to share about HIV and AIDS, how to prevent these things, because we know that this is a big problem with young people getting HIV and dying at early age. And that way we are not going to see development, and because many young people's lives are actually being washed away because of their behaviors. So we want to come and teach these guys, these young people about HIV, what is HIV and AIDS and how to prevent it. And we spoke about sexual abstinence as well. And so the school said, wow, this is great. And please come on and share it. And that is a really good thing. Thank you for actually doing that.
Wow, that's great.
So we went and we began to share with many, many students, like hundreds of them that were sitting together and they were hearing these things. And in there, we spoke about sexual abstinence, and we found that as a bridge to actually speak about God's plans and purposes, God's intention, and for his children, that we are all the children of God, and he designed certain things, to be used in certain way in certain times, and everything was made so perfect, and that over the course of time things actually got lost, or people began to do things that were totally contradictory to what he had intended for his children.
Yeah.
And so many young men, they were like looking carefully, and then after sharing that, I said, if you guys want to hear more about these issues, the school is right next door to my house.
Wow.
And I say, that's my house, and you guys can come anytime. I'm here, I'm available 24/7. If you come to my house, I will be there to speak with you guys. If you want to get deeper knowledge in these issues that are real problem in our society, just come to my house. I'll be gladly, I will be willing to actually teach you more. And because we have only short time, it's only 30 minutes that I was given to share these things with you here on school, and you have to go back and to continue studying. But I have 24 hours a day in there. You can come and, just talk to me.
That's great.
And so later on, I've had like a couple of young people coming to my house. I would just sit with them and talk and catch up and just, sharing the life in general. And then, but this young man is saying, there is something that really touched my heart when you were talking about God's plans and God's desire and God's intention and God's creation, how he designed things to be. And I would like to hear more.
You're listening to God Network News Podcast with your host, Cal Curtis. Look up our website at godnetworknews.com.
And there I was more open to share the gospel to this young man. And this young man, he says, you know what? I really want to follow the Lord. I really want to commit. I really want to live this life, because I've seen my brother, he died of this disease. And many other people, my friends, and he died of this disease. And something is wrong in this island that we really need to learn more about these things in order to really overcome these issues. So he committed his life to the Lord. And all of a sudden, he was like willing to learn. And I spent time, with him, like sharing the scripture. And he said, you know what, I want to read the whole New Testament. And sometimes he would come to my house and we were reading the scriptures together. Every day he was coming with questions from the scriptures. And we became we became friends, that my house was open. He would also come. Sometimes he would sleep in my house and we would have a cup of tea and with some biscuits and, hanging out, talking, and also with scriptures, sharing and stories, from the scripture. And, and sometimes he would be like there spending times with the scripture, that it was getting late. And then I opened like, hey, you can stay here if you want. And there is a room there if you want to sleep here, because my house, it's on the street and I have electricity. And electricity had just reached the island before we were living there for many years without electricity. And the government brought electricity recently. So I got a small piece of land in my house that have electricity. So, and this
so
guy
people can charge their phones.
Yes. Many people come and they charge their phones in my house. And he was coming and reading the scripture because I have light. And I said, you're welcome to actually stay and sleep. He said, oh, really? So yeah, we can have a meal together tonight. But I tell you, I woke up in the middle of the night. I think it was like 2 a.m. I was going to the bathroom to use the bathroom, but I saw he was still awake with his New Testament, Gideon's small Bible, reading he was so committed. And then he said, I want to really preach the gospel. I want to preach to many people and share these things, you know. Thank you for really being there in my life to tell me about this, the gospel of the kingdom. And now I see the importance of me sharing to many people. So he began sharing the gospel to so many people and bringing many young people to me. So I said, you know what? You can start a group. It's not that you have to come for me to, you start the group yourself. And he started a small group, and he was like, really, I can do that? Can I do that? I said, yes, you are the one sharing the gospel. You are the one going and befriending, you know, making friends with these people. You are the ones actually telling the stories. You can actually lead these people because you are naturally a leader, a disciple maker already.
Oh, that's great.
And so he started a small group there. And I tell you, and he was coming to me every day. I was training him like, hey, you have to make the disciple makers, to train trainers. And it's not only you training them, the same thing I'm doing to you. So we were speaking about 2 Timothy 2:2, like the same thing I'm doing to you. You are the one, you are supposed to actually pass it on to them and encouraging them also to take it and pass it on to others.
That's right.
So that group was multiplying and starting another group. I think that's one of the group that really multiplied even more and has reached to many generations, 3 or 4 generations now out of his group. And but he was
facing right? Three or 4 generations.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
That's incredible. That's amazing. If you enjoyed this episode, please consider donating to help us continue to bring exciting stories fresh from the field. Visit our website at godnetworknews.com and select the PayPal link on the right side of the page, or consider becoming a Patreon partner to receive access to more valuable materials exclusive to our members.